I think we'll go ahead and get started. Grab a lunch as you walk in. Your price of admission is to sign in, please. Welcome. My name is Josie Isnard, and I'm a financial advisor with VALIC, working here out of the Houston office, and I've been working with Lone Star College for over 10 years, so I've been around a long time. One of the things that VALIC really specializes in is face-to-face service. And in all my years of experience, I found that face-to-face service really makes a difference. So keep that in mind as we work through the seminar today. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about your retirement plan at work. I want just to tell you a little bit more about your retirement plans at work. Number two, if you're not saving, I want to encourage you to save. And number three, if you're not working with a financial advisor doing some financial planning, I want to encourage you to work with a financial advisor and do some financial planning. We'll talk about why you should save for retirement. Additionally, we're going to talk about why you should participate in your workplace plan, the plans offered here through Lone Star. We're going to talk about the features of the most common types of plans, the specific features of the plans that are available to you here at Lone Star. And we'll close with some action items. Where do we go from here? There are workbooks as well as pens on the tables. I encourage you to follow along in a workbook. Feel free to take notes in the workbook. Those are yours to keep, to take with you. At the end of the workbook, there is an evaluation form, the seminar evaluation form. Your feedback is important. I would like to ask at the end of the seminar that you do complete the evaluation form and turn that in. Okay, let's start with a little bit of fun. What generation are you? According to USA Today, the year that you were born partly determines what generation you belong to, but so do your cultural experiences. Your teenage years are the years when the people around you, when people are most influenced by the cultural events in their teen years. Now we're going to take a little quiz. But don't worry, I won't be taking grades. All right. Question number one. And follow along in your workbooks here if you want to. Question number one. What technology came into being when you were a teenager? Cell phone. When you were a teenager, what was the new hot technology? All right. Next. What was the blockbuster movie when you were a teenager? Star Wars, Singing in the Rain, Hard Day's Night, Back to the Future, Titanic, Rebel Without a Cause. All right, how are we doing so far? Question three. What song was popular when you were growing up? Was it the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand? Village People, YMCA? I see that. Hound Dog? Oops, I did it again. I don't make a very good Britney, I'm afraid. Chattanooga Choo Choo? Or I Love Rock and Roll? All right, the last question. How or where do you currently get your news? From a newspaper, TV, radio, or online? Okay, now this chart kind of summarizes and puts some labels what generation you are. And the generation does impact how you think about retirement. These are generalizations. You might find there's a lot of bleed over from one category to the other depending on your your experiences in your teenage years. But these are generalizations, different categories. These generalizations influence how you think about retirement. For example, the GI generation and the silent generation grew up during the Depression, World War I, Korean War, tended to be more frugal, hard savers. When they retire, they're retired and they don't want to work anymore. The boomers, in contrast, grew up in more affluent times, perhaps haven't saved as much as they should for retirement, are finding that they tend to work longer and maybe work differently in their retirement years or as they approach retirement. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about why save for retirement. All right, we're tending to live longer and longer. As society advances, we live longer and longer. You might live to be 100. You might be retired for 30 years. Think about it. How long are you working and how long are you going to be retired? That means our retirement income has to last potentially for a long time. As financial planners, we use a rule of thumb that when you are retired, you would estimate about 80% of your pre-retirement income is what you need to produce each year during your retirement. 70–80% rule of thumb. Now, inflation marches along. It's something we're all familiar with over the years. And newsflash, inflation does not stop when you retire. Amazing. Just a simple example here, a loaf of bread, 1980 cost about 50 cents. 30 years later, about triple the cost. So we would expect that to continue. Inflation marches along throughout our retirement years. I'm going to spend a bit of time on this next slide. These are the general sources of income that you will rely on during your retirement years. Okay? Going clockwise, the first section of the pie is Social Security. Now, here at Lone Star, you're not contributing to Social Security, so it's possible, maybe even likely, that section of the pie is really, really skinny or non-existent for you. Okay? On average, in our society, Social Security replaces about 40% of your income need during your retirement years. So if you don't have Social Security, that's something to think about. Additionally, there are a couple of details in the Social Security regulations that apply in this situation where you have a state pension plan, TRS, ORP. You have a state pension plan as well as Social Security. There are offsets that apply. You kind of can't have both. One of the offsets is called the windfall elimination provision, and that applies to you if you're in TRS or ORP. The other Social Security rule is called government pension offset. That applies to spouses of those that are in TRS or ORP in addition to Social Security. So the first block of the pie, Social Security, about 40% of the overall income need. For you, for your situation, it might be quite a bit smaller. The next section, the green section of the pie, is talking about personal savings and investments. This would be your
personal 403B, 401k, 457, IRAs, your personal savings that you have accumulated, that you have set aside for your retirement. There are many vendors in the college system here that provide 403B, 457 services. VALIC is one of them. If you're not doing personal savings, if you're not participating in your own retirement, one of the things I want to encourage today is start. You see that green bar or that green section of the pies, again, about 40%. If the Social Security piece is really skinny, that green piece might have to expand, right? Now the blue piece is talking about pensions and annuities. That really is addressing TRS and ORP. Depending on how many years of service, depending on whether you're in TRS or ORP, that blue section of the pie again might be bigger, might be a little bit smaller. But it is not the only section of the pie. Okay, if all you're relying on is TRS, then you're going to take a pretty big pay cut at retirement. So it is important to consider these other retirement plans at work that are available to you. This next chart, again, highlighting Social Security. Again, if you don't have Social Security, these are average Social Security benefits. So if you don't have Social Security, you've got to make up somewhere in between $15,000 a year and $30,000 a year from your personal savings. Now, I'm not going to do really complicated math here, but if you were trying to generate $30,000 a year for 30 years of retirement, how much money does that take? Okay? It's a big number. The earlier that you start, the better off you are. All right, now we're going to look at some of the excuses that we all use to delay saving for retirement. In your 20s, if you're young, you might say, gosh, I'm too young. Retirement, it's so far away, I really don't need to worry about that. Okay? Well, on the other hand, if you're young, time is on your side, start now. As a financial advisor, probably the most fulfilling thing I do is start people young. Get started with the right discipline, start saving for retirement, the very first job you get out of school. In your 30s, maybe you've started a family at that point, so it's too many expenses. You got kids, kind of starting out with a home, that sort of thing. Counter that by saying pay yourself first. Start the discipline of saving, save through your retirement plan at work, payroll deduct, it's easy. Pay yourself first. In your 40s, maybe the excuse is, gosh, college is looming for my children. I really need to be saving toward that goal. Retirement's too far away. I'm just going to focus on what I have to worry about now. So maybe it's college. Well, think about the compound savings, the compounding of the growth in your retirement account if you, in fact, start and stick with it. In your 50s, okay, sandwich generation, you've got your kids, you've got your parents, kind of both ends of the deal there. Well, as you get a little bit older in your 50s and onward, there are catch-up provisions that enable you to save more towards your retirement. So why participate in your employer plan? Well, first of all, it's easy. Okay, it's a payroll deduction. Here at Lone Star, you go on My Lone Star, self-service, you set up your deduction, you choose the vendor that you want to work with, and it's a payroll deduct. It's easy. Okay? Time is on your side. The growth is tax deferred. There are significant tax advantages to these retirement plans. We'll talk about this some more. Time is on your side, and it's tax-deferred growth. It's very powerful. And finally, small changes. Start small, make small increases along the way. It really does add up, particularly with the compounding of the growth. Here's an example or a chart that shows kind of the power of what Uncle Sam is doing for you with these tax-qualified plans. All of the plans that are offered through Lone Star College are tax-qualified plans. There's a tax advantage to participating in every one. Okay? They're all pre-tax contributions, so you lower your taxable wages on the front end. You lower your tax withholding from each paycheck. In addition, you have tax-deferred growth. That means the earnings are not taxed to you year in, year out throughout your career. The taxation does occur at the back end on most of the plans, but the power of the tax deferral is shown by the difference between the green bar and the blue bar. Okay, I call that difference. That's the part that Uncle Sam is doing for you. Okay? Now we're going to talk a little bit about procrastination. All right? If you start when you're 25, saving $200 a month, $100 a paycheck, and you only save for 5 years, okay? Assuming an 8% rate of return, at age 65, you have $300,000. Your investment was $200 a month for 5 years. Your investment was very small on the front end, okay? Now, a 25-year-old, to accumulate $300,000 towards retirement at age 65. Starting at 25, you invest $12,000. If you procrastinate, if you delay till you're 35, it costs you $36,000, 3 times more. 10 years costs you 3 times more money. Okay, for the same $300,000 at age 65. Finally, at age 45, a little more procrastination. It's a lot more investment that you have to make in order to accumulate that same $300,000. So procrastination has a price. It definitely costs you. Better to start early on and stick with it. Now, as a financial planner, a lot of times people ask me, well, how much should I be saving? Okay, and I'll say, well, it depends. But a rule of thumb is that you should be saving 15% towards your retirement from the start of your career and consistently throughout your career. And quite honestly, that rule of thumb holds. I do a lot of financial planning with a lot of different age groups. The people that are savers find when they get to their retirement that they really can have a comfortable retirement, that they have options in their retirement. It's very important to save, to start saving, and to save as much as you can. Now here's a little example, and I personally think these numbers are a little bit off, but we all have ways that we kind of fritter away money here and there, right? We all have silly things that we do that we kind of waste money on this and that. A cup of coffee every morning, a cup of gourmet coffee. In this example, they're saying $9 a week. I think if it's Starbucks, it's quite a bit higher than that, right? Annually, it adds up to $500 or so. Over 30 years' time, that's $50,000. Okay? So the excuse that, I don't have the money, I can't afford to do this, I would say, just start small, and increase it a little bit at a time as you get pay raises or as different events occur where you have a little bit more money freed up. Now, when you retire, that makes a difference. Of course, if you start early, You accumulate more money. If you're early on in your sort of savings cycle, you have more flexibility, more ability to adjust to any market downturns that would occur, or that will occur over the years. If you start later, you have less ability to adjust to those market downturns. And very often during retirement, you have less ability yet to adjust to those market downturns. Now, depending on the lifestyle that you want in retirement, I would encourage you to work with a financial advisor. Do some financial planning. We can look at these numbers. We can plan for some of these outcomes. We don't control the market, but we can control the amount of risk that you're taking in your investments. And there are tools to protect against market downturns. If you work with a financial advisor, you can learn about those things and how they apply to your situation, what's appropriate for your own personal situation. Now we're going to look at some of the most common tax-qualified plans or retirement plans. Here at Lone Star, you have a 403B plan. These plans generally apply to public schools and nonprofit organizations. Here at Lone Star, you also have a 457B. 457 plans apply to generally government organizations. Lone Star College is considered higher ed and government, so you have both. Okay. Additionally, I think most people have heard of a 401k plan. 401k plans generally apply to for-profit organizations. 401k and 403b are virtually identical sections of the tax code. It's just a big, thick section of tax rules, virtually identical. 457 is a little bit different, but again, it's very, very similar. The tax laws do allow for combining of these various types of plans if there is it's called a distributable event. So sometimes you might have a 401k plan from work that you did prior to coming to Lone Star. And it might be that you want to look at consolidating those assets. All right, the contributions that you make to a 403b or 457, if you're under age 50, the maximum that is allowed in the tax law is $17,000 for the 2012 tax year. Because you have the 403b and the 457, if you have the ability to tax defer significant chunks of your income, we can actually double up that $17,000 limit. You can do $17,000 in the 403b and $17,000 in the 457. VALIC is one of the vendors that does both plans. So you can have all your investments together and actually participate in both the 403b and the 457. Additionally, if you're age 50 or older, there are age-based catch-ups that apply. These age-based catch-ups, $5,500, apply to both the 403b and the 457, allowing you to save $22,500 per plan, 403b, 457, allowing you to tax defer $43,000 a year if you have the income to tax defer to that extent. Actually, 45, I just did my math wrong. Lee, you were supposed to fix me on that. All right, the salary deferral is up to you. I've just talked about the maximums, okay? I'm throwing around some big numbers and you're going, well, okay, that doesn't apply to me, okay? The amount that you contribute to the 403b or the 457 is up to you. And you can change it at any time. You can stop it and restart it at any time. Now, I think you're limited to once a month, and you have to go through My Lone Star to make the changes. But you're not limited or restricted. You're not set in stone when you very first enroll. things that, that might apply if you had prior employment. One of the things you might want to consider is consolidating your assets, putting them all together in one place. As a financial planner, I would generally recommend consolidation because if you have multiple investments in different places, it's very difficult to have an investment strategy. It's very difficult to understand your investments, your diversification, your amount of risk. And in particular, if you have a bunch of smaller accounts, it makes a lot of sense to consolidate because you might be getting fees, annual fees and charges from, it's called low balance dormant accounts. You tend to get nickel and dimed on the fees, so it makes some sense to consolidate. Again, VALIC would love to discuss, do some retirement planning with you. And if you're interested in consolidating, VALIC would love to work with you. Okay, let's put it all together. We started out by talking about what generation are you. We had a little bit of fun with the cultural differences between the generations, and we sort of got to thinking about ourselves, you know, where do I fit? How do I view retirement? What kind of saver am I? How have I done? Okay. We talked about why save for retirement. I mean, I think this is a rhetorical question. If you want to retire, you got to save, right? How are you going to have an income if you don't? Why participate in your retirement plan at work? Because it's easy, payroll deduct, tax advantages, time is on your side. So where do we go from here? There's a quote: "The greatest power a person possesses is the power to choose." I hope that you will choose to take action today. I would encourage you to enroll in your retirement plan at work if you have not enrolled already. I would encourage you to work with a financial advisor and do some financial planning if you have not done so already. My name is Josie Ismer. I work for VALIC. I'm a financial advisor here on campus, and I would love to work with you. We are prepared to get you started today. We talked about procrastination. Come see me. I'm here to help you today if you choose to take action today.